To me, the growth of my players' minds, bodies, souls, spirits, all that is more important than wins and losses.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Hey Where'd You Go podcast. I'm your host, Collin Kushner, and this week we have another fantastic guest. We have BMHS Hall of Famer, UCLA Hall of Famer, and WNBA champ, Noelle Quinn. Noelle, how are you?
All is well. I can't complain. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to have you. Thank you for taking the time. And obviously, I love the glasses we're both rocking for those of you watching the YouTube version. I know you were born and raised in Los Angeles. Where in Los Angeles did you grow up, and what was your childhood like?
So I grew up near Inglewood. I like to, LA is so big, so off of Manchester and Western. I grew up with my older sister and my mom. My mom was an educator for about 35 years. So off the rip, like education was super important for me and for us. I got into basketball very early. It was kind of organically in that I was just playing at recess with the boys and things like that. Or my mom reminded me that I was playing with my teacher against the boys and meeting everyone at an early age. My childhood, it was great. I think, even though I was within a world in which we lived in, like our street in LA, I think my mom did an amazing job of making sure that I received a private school education, worked her butt off to have me in private school, and as well as my sister, and then had, a wealth of knowledge in both worlds. And I think playing sports early really connected me with a lot of other people. My schooling connected me with a lot of other people. And so, I had a great childhood. Shout out to my mom for just raising my sister and I and, making sure that we valued family as well.
How important was investing your time in a sport like basketball early on in terms of growth?
You don't really know that as a child, how important it is or how important it will be until you're sitting here with you and thinking back, on it. I think, having to be playing sports so early, I just think it exposed me to different people in general. I was playing basketball with the boys, at that time. They didn't have all girls league. And so you're just an athlete at that time. You don't even realize that, at that point, you are essentially a superhero. Superpowers is that you're the only, female young girl playing amongst boys. You're just out there having fun. And I just think that just cultivated my love for the game. I think that, not only was I playing hoops, but I was just making friends and making connections, and some that I still have to this day. So I would contend that playing sports at an early age just, exposed me to different things.
That's one of the reasons why I love sports so much and why I love being involved in sports as a journalist, because it's interesting to hear the stories of how that particular sport has connected an athlete from a young age, whether it be getting through a tough time, staying on the straight and narrow path. It's always interesting to hear those stories.
It provided me some focus and insight for me, for my life, and just consistency and all these things that life teaches you. I feel like basketball taught me that at an early age.
Did you have any other interests as a kid, or was it strictly basketball? Because I did read on your UCLA profile that you play the piano as well. You're a pianist.
Yeah, I think that I learned, again, shout out to my mom. Like, I wanted to play like the little flutophone thing.
Oh, the recorder.
The recorder, that's what it is. Like that makes no notes, like. But she was like, she learned how to play the piano early, and we had a piano in our grandmother's house. We grew up in a duplex, and so my grandmother lived right next door to us. and she had a piano. So in second grade, this company, Roscoe School of Music, they came on campus and were offering music lessons. And from there, I started taking lessons in second grade, and I still play now. I have a piano in my home.
That's really cool, though. Basketball, playing the piano. Obviously, you attended high school at Bishop Montgomery. I used to cover them. It's a basketball powerhouse. And you had a ton of success there. 4 state titles in 4 years. You even won one playing volleyball as well. What were those experiences like? And did you expect to have so much success all 4 years of high school?
I didn't. Honestly, and genuinely, I was just working hard and enjoying the moment. Again, you don't realize the impact, or you don't realize what you did until you kind of take a step back and kind of remember those times, or listen and see the accolades, or look on the wall in the gym. But I honestly was just trying to do my best. And in that, I mean, we won so much, and winning just became like the norm for us. And yes, we won 4 state. We won 3 CIF titles, and we lost. And I still, as much as I've won, I still remember that game. I still remember my feeling after that game. And I was like, dang, I failed. We failed. We won so much, but I just think winning became a habit. But before that, working hard became our habit. And that Bishop is a tough school, like academically as well, in honors and classes, and sometimes not getting a lot of sleep because I'm turning in work, but also having to practice and commuting to school and things like that. But I just think, again, just enjoying who I was around, being empowered by everyone, our staff, our faculty, our principal was amazing, Miss Libin. It was just fun. Bishop's a small community, everyone, everyone's names, and that made it more, I think, fulfilling. But now as a person, as a player, you're accomplishing something not only for yourself and your team, but your entire school, putting your school on the map.
Noelle, you talked about something very important, enjoying the moment. How do you get somebody to enjoy the moment? Because we're all always looking into the future or looking back in the past, and I feel like the art of mindfulness and enjoying the moment is a lost art.
Yeah, I mean, you learn a lot of things as an adult. So I'm not quite sure that I was an expert in enjoying the moment, because I'm sure I kind of failed a lot in that aspect as a young kid, not understanding or not knowing that it's going to be okay. Moving moment by moment is kind of how you find success, find balance in that. And I think it's a constant reassess. I think, you go into a gym and you think about, say you're working out, you're working on your arm muscles or whatever muscle group you're working on for the day, probably arms, because not a lot of people work on their legs. But it's like you're building, this muscle memory in that sense. And you want a certain aesthetic, you want a certain look. And I think people don't really do that with their minds. I think it's important to build up your muscle memory in your mind, in that enjoying the moment it's a daily process. You have to condition yourself, and you will fail, you will succeed. But I think, as a kid, it was just like basketball was fun too. I wasn't getting paid for it. There was another agenda. I wasn't going to get bonus for winning. It was just for the love of the game. And I think that probably was like the biggest thing that helped in understanding just how to be and how to play.
As a coach now, obviously at your alma mater, Bishop Montgomery, and in the WNBA, how do you impart that knowledge on high school athletes and then professional athletes as well?
For my young ladies at Bishop Montgomery, I talk about this all the time. For me, I'm not just a coach. Like, I'm a mentor, I'm a confidant, I'm a disciplinary. And so every day I approach the way I coach as a day to teach and a day to learn as well. So I'll do things like having a quote of the week, things like that, because to me, the growth of my players' minds, bodies, souls, spirits, all that is more important than wins and losses. And yeah, we want to win, but my impact is much greater. I feel like to show them that basketball isn't the only thing. And so, every day I value my time with them, and every day I try to pour into them, and every day it's a blessing for me because it's like I see like the confidence shift, I see the growth, and it's not necessarily like making a layup. Like it's just like, a whole aura or attitude. And then in the WNBA, the difference is that they're grown women. So it's like you shouldn't have to motivate a grown woman, but what's unique in my situation is that I'm coaching my friends or my teammates that I've played with, and the respect level that I receive is one that it helps me to to speak to them and to just push them sometimes when I see them slacking, or to help them where I see maybe there is some confusion or whatever the case may be. But our team does a great job of just setting the standard of we're coming to work, we're coming to win a championship, let's be professional. That manner, I don't have to do a lot of that. I just have to impart the knowledge, make sure our scouting report is on point and that we're able to win games, put them in positions to win games.
I don't want to lose sight of your prep career. I know we briefly touched on it a few minutes ago, but again, you won all those championships, but you had so much success individually. All eyes were on you. Was that difficult as a teenager to handle all that, or what was that like? Because again, I'm just your random dude who was in high school. I never had those experiences, so I'm always curious to understand the psyche behind that.
I'll just give a brief story. One of my friends, like she's my good friend to this day, Irene Fernando. We had freshman English together, and I'm quiet in the classroom, and I think we partnered up. And she's like asking about, do I play? Maybe basketball came up or whatever. And this is probably first semester of freshman year, so nobody really knows me. Like I just made varsity on volleyball, but I'm not like a great volleyball player at that point. And so I may have said something about like, my basketball and what I want to do and things like that. And she's like, she's a jokester. She says to her sister, like, do you know this girl? Like, was she even at basketball conditioning? She's talking like, kind of like high, but not, and, just expressing my love. And so freshman year, we won, and obviously I had an amazing freshman year and an amazing career in general. And so she talks about that all the time. Like she was just like a freshman JV type of player, but she's looking at this like me, like, who are you? You know what I'm saying? And then look who I turned out to be. And so in that, in the spirit of that, I said I enjoyed, turning people's heads. I enjoyed opening people's eyes because I'm not a boisterous person. Like I'm not, cocky in any way. I was just humbly sitting in my English freshman honors class and expressing my love for the game. And in turn, I think that is probably what drew people toward me because I'm just normal. I didn't see myself above anybody. Even in the way that I played, I made sure I empowered all my teammates and made them better because I knew when they were better, our whole team was better. But I also knew that times where I had to take over a game and things like that. But I think just for me, being a humble spirit allowed people to see me for who I am. I gained so many different friendships and so many cool people I've met along the way. But there was no pressure because I didn't put that pressure on me, and I was legit doing something that I really, really love doing.
That's the best approach one could take at any age, high school, college, or in the pros, taking that humble approach and knowing on the inside what you bring to the table, but on the outside conveying that humbleness, working hard, and you hit on it, uplifting your teammates and not disregarding them.
To this day, when I'm around, especially in the WNBA, when I'm around these superstars and kind of looking at how their minds work, the best players that I've been around always empower everyone else, always instill confidence in everyone else because they understand our team is only going to be as good as, the weakest link or whatever you say. But it's a matter of making sure everyone feels good because everyone has a role in what we do. And I think, I can tell you stories about that as well. Like I wasn't the only one that always came through, at Bishop in important games. Like it was sometimes the kid or the young lady who, I was constantly pouring into, like, shoot that shot. Like you're open, you have a great shot. Like catch these balls. You have the biggest target out there, and constantly. And then in special moments, you see the confidence and you see that they came through for us as well.
In some ways, I feel like your rise to coaching began during your high school years, in empowering your teammates and saying, hey, shoot the ball. Because let's face it, Noelle, when you're such a high profile, high powered athlete, everyone's looking to you and assuming, oof, there's barely any time on the clock left. I should just defer to you. So I think that's amazing that you were like, hey, no, Sue, take the shot.
I've always got the feedback that I always played as a coach, like on the floor, even as a player. It's like I'm coaching as I'm playing. And that was at an early age too. So yeah, like what you alluded to, I think naturally I was cultivating or honing in on my coaching skills and not really knowing.
Well, it goes back to the theme of what we were saying of enjoying the moment, but as a kid, not really knowing and all that. It's almost the same theme that continues on, which is poetic and a little entertaining at the same time. I have to ask you, what was the recruiting process like? Obviously, you ended up attending UCLA. Did you find it to be a fun experience, an arduous experience?
Yeah, I found it to be very just flattering early on. I think I realized early on in my recruiting process that I wanted to stay home. And so I legit, and this is probably bad, but talking to Tennessee, talking to UConn and saying, hey, no, sorry, I want to stay at home. Like, who does that? Maybe that, again, looking back, maybe that was something I should have
So
done.
you said no to Pat Summitt and Gino Auriemma?
Early on, right? That's crazy.
I'm having a heart attack, Noelle.
I know. I was really, really connected with UCLA. In middle school, our religion class, we had an assignment to write about ourselves or write a letter to ourselves, forget the range, maybe 5 or 10 years, saying where we would want to be, what we wanted to do and what we wanted to be. And our teacher, Mr. Susich, he mailed us that letter. And when I read it, where I was at, I believe I was out of college or maybe in college. In the letter, I said that I wanted to go to UCLA and I wanted to be in the WNBA. And I found that letter probably a couple of months ago. So when I look back at my recruiting process, I understand that innately I was probably already wanting to go to UCLA, but not really knowing until I looked at this letter years later. And so my recruiting process, a lot of coaches came to campus, a lot of coaches, playing in front of a lot of coaches, but it came down to Stanford and UCLA. And again, I had a strong connection with UCLA, went to their team camps, got really cool with their coaching staff, their players. And I think it became a heart versus a mind decision. And Stanford, obviously you have to get into the school first. It's very academic heavy before athletics. And so, I don't know, something just happened one day and I was like, nope, I want to go to UCLA. Didn't even go on my visits, but it was like a strong heart decision. And I think, staying home, having my mom and my family being able to watch me, going to a program that wasn't as established as Tennessee or UConn, but building up a program. I think it was would be more fulfilling for me at that point. Um, and those are the decisions that came into it. And so later on in the process, a little bit more arduous than like flattering, because it's like, oh shoot, I'm making like a life decision, and me, how I am, I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings. Like that was kind of my thought process. Like I don't want to hurt Tara Vanderveer's feelings, you know what I mean? But I gotta go with my heart. And I remember that day I went straight to my coach's office, like I'm gonna go to UCLA. I called one of my the assistant coach at the time, Tia Jackson. She's just my friend to this day. Called her right away, like, hey, I'm coming. Called Coach Olivier, I'm coming. So at that point, it was relief, but it went from great to like stressful a little bit.
Well, it seems like you already knew. I think that's so cool that you found a letter of you saying, I want to play basketball at UCLA and I also want to play in the WNBA as well.
It amazed me. And when I opened it up, because sometimes you think in life, again, just thinking back, like, did I make the right decision? Um, what if life was different? What if I decided something else? But this was the right decision because as a kid, I wanted it to happen.
I'm laughing on the inside because I'm hearing your story, and in my head, it's a no brainer the way that you speak about being close to home and UCLA and family, that would be your ultimate decision. Yet, if I were in that position, I would be feeling the same way you were in the sense of, oh, am I going to hurt Tara Vanderveer's feelings or am I making the wrong decision? It's so funny the discrepancies of being an outsider like friend or family and then actually being the person who has to make that pivotal decision. But you couldn't go wrong in that situation.
Again, I think about, okay, what if I would have went to Stanford? You know, she's a Hall of Fame coach, like USA basketball. Maybe my game would be a little bit different. I don't know. You know what I mean? I do think about that as well. But yeah, I mean, two of the best universities in the world, I'll say. You know, either like you're saying, I couldn't have gone wrong with either decision, and I'm still very happy with my decision and how my life has turned out.
I just wanted to let you know that I actually interviewed Tara Vanderveer a few months ago, and the first thing she said to me, she said, Collin, I know you're going to be chatting with Noelle Quinn in about 5 months, and just let her know that I'm still disappointed to this day that she picked UCLA over Stanford.
That's good to know. But I know Tara is not thinking about me. First of all, you know, congrats to Tara on all her wins and all her success. She is not thinking about little old me.
Thank you for knowing that was a joke because I have a very dry sense of humor, and sometimes I get the feeling that I'll say something like that and somebody will be like, wait, they really said that about me? And then I say, no. You go to UCLA, again, you have a ton of success there, and you get to do it in front of friends and family, and obviously your mom, such a pivotal role and role model in your life. What did that mean to you to have the opportunity for her to see you play whenever she wanted to?
Right. And let me give you just a little bit of more background. My mom, out of all the games I played in high school, she only missed one game. And she missed that game because she had parent-teacher conference. She was a teacher, so she had to show up. You know what I mean? And then my college career, my mom came to every single game my senior year. So just to put that in context, she's my superhero. Like sometimes I would be thinking like, wow, like how can she be everywhere? How can she do all of these things for me? So that's how important it was for me to stay home because she was so committed to me and who I was. And in turn, like everything I do really in my life now is for her and because of her. And so for me, it was a no-brainer to say, I'll go to UCLA. Like I have a 30-minute drive home, depending on traffic, drive home to do laundry, to still get a home-cooked meal, to see my mom every day. Like to me, that's a no-brainer because of the connection that we form, the compassion that she had for me, the love that she showed, the sacrifices that she made for me and my sister and our entire family. I just think That to me was like probably, if not the most important thing on my list, because I'm big on just not taking my mom or family for granted, and I'm big on not taking my days for granted. And so if I had the opportunity to be at home and be close to her, like, no brainer.
That's a beautiful thing. And I think it's something that people on the outside overlook. I think you see schools like Tennessee and UConn and the big time programs, the UCLAs, and people are automatically going to assume, just like I said earlier, you turned down Pat Summitt and Gino Auriemma, but if you're in your inner circle, it makes sense. Like I totally get why you went to UCLA and you stayed home, because there are more important things than basketball and sports.
Again, this is a perspective. Maybe as you grow and learn and get older in life, you figure that out. But I just think that's who I've always been as a human being. And maybe I'm not elite because I don't put back, like the elite put basketball like on top, and they sacrifice so much. That's why they're so great in what they do. I'm just kind of like, oh, basketball is dope. Basketball is cool. I love to spend time with my family. Like I love to do other things. So yeah, basketball isn't the only thing. It isn't everything. It's a great thing. But life, you don't want life to pass you by and say like, man, I wish I had spent more time with this person. Or I wish I would have had an opportunity to say this to this person.
I love that perspective, and I think that also serves you well on the hardwood, especially now as a coach, because that's something that you can impart on your high school players and obviously your players at the professional level. Whether or not they listen is a totally different story, but I think it opens up your eyes and your ears about what's important.
A lot of times when I'm speaking to my kids, I'm like, are they listening to what I'm saying? Like, am I just wasting my air right now? But then there are moments where I hear them talking in their conversations and saying things that I said to them, or bringing up, hey, remember when coach said this? And so it's like, okay, it's gratifying. They are listening in their own different way. I am getting through to them. But if I only get through to one person, I'm satisfied.
And I think that's the best part. People always look at numbers and try and quantify how many people you impact, or that sort of thing. I love how it's, if I could help one person, then that means the world to you. And from my side of things, I love to just make one person laugh or smile per day. And tons of people would say that's a very low bar. And I've said this on previous episodes of the podcast, but that's it, just one person. And if you do that each day over the course of a year, it's a lot of people.
You're living in your purpose, right? If you feel that you are supposed to, impact one person a day, just imagine what that person did for the rest of their day. They might have impacted. So really, it's you kind of hockey assisted, like you didn't necessarily get the stat for the assist, or you might have, but now the person that you assisted is now assisting others, and they have in turn impacted more people. So if you think about it like that, pyramid scheme kind of effect.
We need to get you a TED Talk. Noelle, you're considered one of the best all-around players in UCLA Bruin history. When you hear that, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
So many greats have, graced that campus. And, to be amongst the greats, it, again, wasn't something I strived for or aimed for. Maybe I should have set that as a goal, but it wasn't. And so organically to be mentioned amongst UCLA greats in general. You talk about John Wooden when you think about UCLA. You think about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You think about I don't want to leave anyone else out, so I'll just greats. Not only in basketball, you think about Jackie Robinson. You think about all the other activists and important people in history historically who have graced our campus. I think it's just amazing. Again, it's just humbling. I am so happy and proud of the fact that I can say that I am a UCLA alum, but even more satisfying and happy and proud to say that I am a Hall of Famer. I don't take it for granted, and I'm so appreciative of it. And I'm so happy that I put in the work to have my name imprinted and in a place that it will never go away.
I just want you to know how much I love your humble approach because you're a UCLA Hall of Famer. Again, you're a great. You're up there with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and many others. Again, I don't want to leave anybody off that list, but you're very humble and even keel about it, which I think serves people well as they go through their basketball career or coaching or whatever you end up doing.
For sure. And I just, it's me. It's who I am and who God made me to be. I think it doesn't serve me well to talk about myself all the time or, that I do have confidence, but I'm not overly cocky. That doesn't serve me well. That's not who I am. I am a servant. And like you said, you feel like if you put a smile on one person's face, that you've accomplished what you've accomplished for that day. I feel like my purpose is to be a light toward others and to impact others in a way that is not necessarily a way that I'm always consistently like boasting about myself and what I've done, but just being a good example and a blueprint for others and saying like, there's something that's special about her. Like, what is that? And to draw those people toward me and to see who I really am. Like, I just feel like that's my purpose. And I want to live in that every single day. And so, again, you're not going to see me talk about myself. And, I'm just not going to do that. And not that I'm not, like proud or anything of that nature, but I just want to serve and help others. And that's the type of spirit and aura that I have.
It takes a very special type of person to be able to look at somebody and see through them and see the potential they have or the special skill set that they have. But again, Noelle, that takes time, listening and paying attention. We live in this fast-paced TikTok, Twitter world where it's like scroll as quickly as you can. And I think that, and I said it earlier, I just think that's such a special skill and something that's more important, as you know, than basketball.
And listening with the intent not to necessarily respond. I don't think enough people, I don't know the quote, we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. I don't know, something to that.
Something like that.
Don't quote me on that, but I think it's a lost art, just listening to people and just understanding and being empathetic. You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't understand or we can't necessarily put ourselves inside other people's shoes, but we can definitely empathize with what they're going through and try to help in any type of way. I pride myself in trying to listen to each one of my players, especially at Bishop Montgomery, so that when I talk to them, it's not solely about basketball. So I can say, hey, how's your brother doing? Hey, how's this class going? What book are you guys reading now? And that involves listening and with the intent to actually care and know about someone, not to just listen to say, okay, that's cool, just because I'm checking off a box, you know what I mean? And that's just not how like I operate. But you bring up a great point. I think just slow down and listen to people. And really hear them.
Slowing down's hard. I could tell you from my own experiences. Let's just say I'm brushing my teeth in the morning. I'm already thinking 2 hours ahead. Oh, it's 7. It's 7. I have a meeting at 9 a.m. And then obviously the art of mindfulness, I tell myself, Collin, you're brushing your teeth right now. Like that's what you're doing. You're brushing your teeth, so your breath smells great, and you're practicing oral hygiene. You know what I mean? But we live in that fast-paced world where you're in bed and you're looking at your phone and you're not in the moment. It sucks. I hate it.
I know. I don't have an Instagram, so I feel like that kind of helps me in a sense. I do have Twitter, and to me, Twitter is more like the news than like the the pictures that make you feel like your life is boring and meaningless, right? But yeah, it's just like you have to really be intentional about, how much time you spend on those things, or, how much time that you want to put into other things. I think I've been more mindful of that too. Like, hey, you've been scrolling for like 5-10 minutes now. Put your phone down. Let's get to the next thing. Like, make a phone call. Talk to someone. Like, do your work or whatever it may be. I think that the social media aspect of things. You got to remember. Like, I grew up around, like, we didn't have. I barely had a cell phone in high school, and internet just started popping when, like, probably in middle school, high school. I don't remember, but it's like I was in high school still dialing my friends' numbers by heart. My cell phone, I know like 3 numbers by memory. I still remember the numbers I was dialing in high school. So our times have definitely changed. Like, we are, we're looking at things differently. And like you're saying, it's so fast paced, but I think, there are times in life where you have to be intentional about, hey, today I'm not going to pick up my phone and open up my app. I'm going to have an actual conversation with someone, look in their eyes, listen to them. So yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
Noelle, your Twitter bio says spread love, it's the way. Where'd you get that mantra?
It's actually from I think Notorious B.I.G.'s song. He says, "Spread love is the Brooklyn way." So I put "spread love." I think it's the L.A. way. I am. My heart is big, Collin. Like, if the world had more love, understanding, compassion, I think we'd be in a better place, honestly. And so I think when I say spread love, it's just like, again, for me, that's living in my purpose. Like, every day to be able to spread love and impact others. How fulfilling is that? You know what I mean? To make somebody's day better. But yeah, I think in general, we're so we're so bent on, like, this, receiving likes on social media, more than giving our love to people in, like, everyday living, like in actual life. Like, we're in this virtual world so much. Like, you have an opportunity to just have a conversation with someone in life and impact it in a certain way. Like, I think we need to get back to that.
I think so too, because let's face it, if you get a like on Instagram or a like or a retweet on Twitter, in the moment, oh, I didn't know Sarah Johnson liked my picture. Heck yeah. But you want to know what? 15 years later, is that really what I'm going to remember or what people are going to remember? But if you do what you've been saying, spread the love and show love and open up your heart and help others in those ways, that has the impact of a lifetime. I love how we go down these different side roads. That's the best part about this podcast, is weaving in sports and weaving in life, and obviously your story. I don't want to overlook this. You were selected 4th overall in the 2007 WNBA draft by the Minnesota Lynx. This has been one of my favorite questions to ask. Where were you the day you got drafted?
The day I got drafted, I was in the draft room. I think it was Cleveland, Ohio, because that's where the Final Four was that year. I was sitting at the draft table with my mom, my sister, my uncles, my agent, my UCLA head coach. I talked to the whole staff of the Minnesota Lynx. And so as their pick was coming up, I leaned over and said to my mom, I'm like, if I'm going to get chosen, this is the team that's going to choose me. And then the commissioner announces it, and it's me. And it's just like surreal. You know what I mean? And as I'm talking to you, like, I feel myself sitting at that table, because that's how much I remember that and feel that moment. it was amazing to walk on stage and take my picture, and all those other things become blurry because my heart is just like beating. Like, am I gonna have to speak in front of everybody? um, but I think that it's a day that I will never forget because I got to share it with my family. I fulfilled like a childhood dream that I wrote on a paper that I wanted to be in the WNBA in a letter to myself. And then again, I grew up watching the Sparks, going to the games and things like that. And so there was this I think full circle moment of just being a kid playing basketball, sitting at the Forum or sitting at Staples Center and watching Lisa Leslie play, and then all of a sudden being able to be in the league with them. Again, a moment I won't ever take for granted, a moment that still very much makes my heart flutter to today. And a moment that is just kind of puts the stamp on, um, you know, how my life has been. Just a portfolio, you should say, of just hard work and dedication and commitment to the people who I love. And so yeah, I just that day was amazing. I'll never forget it.
I love hearing that story and hearing the excitement and nostalgia in your voice, because you paint the picture the way you painted it. I feel like I'm in that moment with you where, if you close your eyes, and that's what I want viewers to do, close their eyes if they're listening or watching so they can almost envision that moment where you get the call and you have your mom and your family and pictures, being taken, and you knowing that you're going to freeze in Minnesota.
Right. I went like immediately after that. The next day, I had to fly out to Minnesota, and so that was around April. And I think they like maybe introduced me at one of the Timberwolves games, and the amount of like wind that had mixed with cold air, mixed with like I couldn't even tell you the degrees. First of all, being from LA, 60 degrees is cold to me.
Yes, it's freezing.
It's freezing, right? Like 60 degrees, I'm in Uggs and like a huge jacket in LA. But I feel like the wind chill factor alone, plus it was probably minus something. It wasn't quite snowy, it was just icy. I was just like, oh no. But playing in Minnesota is different. Visiting in April and playing in the summer is different. So I didn't really get to had to experience a lot of that, but I was just like, oh my.
That's how you know somebody's looking out for you, when you get drafted by a professional franchise in the state of Minnesota, but you don't necessarily have to deal with the cold weather. Someone's looking out, Noelle.
Shout out to the OG for sure. Yes.
Noelle, over the course of your 12-year WNBA career, you played with 5 teams. What were those experiences like, and what did you learn?
My experiences were amazing. My first couple of years in Minnesota, we were a very young team. Our coach, Don Zierden, he had just come from the NBA. To the women's side, and one of our assistant coaches, I just talked to him yesterday, Ed Prohosky, he's the older gentleman. I really learned a lot as far as X's and O's. Again, just in my mental Rolodex, maybe I'm just honing my coaching skills throughout my career, not knowing, right? I really learned gamesmanship and like X's and O's from him, coming from the men's game. Going to LA, I really learned how to become a professional. So I'm playing with Lisa Leslie, Tina Thompson, Marie Ferdinand Harris, Tisha Pinachero, Ebony Hoffman, Delisha Milton, Candace Parker. Like I had an opportunity to play with all those players. And from there, I understood how I then should become a professional. Like coming from, Minnesota, we're young, so we didn't have a lot of vets to show the way. Coming to LA, a lot of vets. and my understanding of how to take care of my body. I need to be in the gym first and stay after to shoot more. So I learned that. And then LA was an amazing. I love playing in LA because it's like I'm playing in Staples Center in front of my mom, you know? Like, how did this happen? Again, fulfilling a dream of mine. Then on to DC, you know, I learned a lot there as well. Playing for Seattle, again, a franchise that to me is the upper echelon of culture and how to operate a franchise. Playing in Phoenix, you know, obviously being able to play with Diana Taurasi, learning a lot too from that experience. But I think Seattle in general, I traveled all these places, played with all these teams, but Seattle was the place that I genuinely felt that we cared about each other, and we were just we worked hard for a common goal. But what was different was that we truly and genuinely and organically, you know, bonded together, and that made our championship run or the years we were building up to get to a championship, it made that more fulfilling. So aside from playing in the WNBA, you know, I played overseas as well. And again, learned a lot over there. I won a championship in Korea and was a part of a couple of EuroLeague teams who won championships. So again, every place, every stop, I think I tried to live in that moment and understand, like, why am I going through this? Like, what's the purpose of it? What am I gonna get out of it? And in turn, I've taken that now in my career as a coach.
Playing with the likes of Lisa Leslie, Candace Parker, Diana Taurasi, just to name a few, did you ever take a step back and just think to yourself, I'm playing with these WNBA stars that I grew up watching, and now I'm passing the ball to them, or they're passing the ball to me? It all goes back to what we talked about earlier, being in the moment.
Right. I don't think probably I did that until after, because while I was in the moment, it was important for me and for them to know that I was a professional as well. And I didn't want them to think any less of me as a teammate, that I'm, you know, thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm playing with someone who I watched growing up, as opposed to, okay, I'm your point guard right now. Where does she like to get the ball? Like, how can we get everybody? You know, I played point guard for for a team that had Candace, Lisa, Delisha Milton, and Tina at the same time. Like, who, you know,
Lots of options.
lots of options who also know that they want that option at that moment. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of navigating that. Like, I couldn't just sit there and be a fan. I had to raise my level of game and mentality and physical ability so that we could, you know, be successful. And it sucks. I think that team, we should have won a championship with that team. And again, you know, it's not only basketball dynamics that matter, you know, when winning a championship, but I think, you know, I didn't want them to think any less of me. And so I prided myself in trying to do the work. And I succeeded sometimes, and sometimes I failed, but it wasn't until after I look at pictures. I have a picture in my home of, you know, us on the court together, or, you know, like, oh, wow, I did something very cool that not a lot of players have an opportunity to do within their careers.
I understand what you're saying by trying to keep a level of professionalism, so to speak, as opposed to just your jaws dropping and you're looking up at Lisa Leslie and you're like, and she's like, hey, Noelle, pass me the ball. And you're like, oh, sorry. So I do understand that. But between that and then again, not to discredit your time in Seattle or Phoenix or Minnesota, but playing in the Staples Center and having your mom watching you, it goes back to again, what we talked about earlier, barely missing any games at Bishop Montgomery and UCLA. That's amazing to look up and see your mom in the crowd.
We had season tickets from the beginning for the Sparks. So at the Forum, when it first, if you watch Love and Basketball at the end, we were there, and I'm like, because we were fans, and then Erica McCall is in the starting lineup, and we're like, who is that? And she does this little thing, and I was there, and so when the movie came out, I was like, oh, okay, now it all makes sense.
Well, now I could say that I'm talking to somebody that was in the movie Love and Basketball. I've been waiting to do that my whole life.
I'm waiting for my residual check as well. I'm waiting for that. I think the director of that movie is an alum too. Her name escapes me, but yeah. So my mom had season tickets, and she just kept her season tickets. And when I started playing for the Sparks, she still had them. So for me, I didn't have to give her those tickets, and she, and I knew exactly where her seats were every time I looked at we had the song that was played before the game, the national anthem. I always made sure I make eye contact with her, wave to her, because I knew where we were on the floor and where she was. And so, yeah, it's actually, she had the tickets. She built the momentum for me. She exposed me to the environment, and then again, full circle to be just standing on the court and looking at my seats, seats that I've watched championships won in, and, seeing players go through the tunnel and sign autographs. And I remembered that stuff. And so as a player, I made sure that if I can throw a sneaker to a kid, or if I can sign something or give my headband to, I'm like, Lisa Leslie used to do this. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do as a player. So it was really cool. I learned a lot,
I love the fact that giving a fan, a piece of, again, like an armband or a shoe or something, because it's going to make that kid's day. And on top of it, looking up, at your old seats and seeing your mom there, it makes me reflect back to my hockey days. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I could hear my dad knocking on the glass, because I was a goalie. I was a 5'10" goalie. People look at me and they're like, dude, you played goalie? I say, yeah, you can't tell? But it's weird, though, because when I look back at my career and I close my eyes, I don't really remember, like, games per se, but I remember just, like, the knocking of the glass, or, like, great save, Collin. And those are the memories that, in the moment, you're like, shut up, Dad. But, man, I'll never forget that.
Right, and you bring up, like, moments. And same with, when we're talking about my Bishop Montgomery days, like, I don't remember stats, but I remember moments. Like, I remember, obviously, you remember the championships, being in Arco Arena at that time, and you remember that, but most importantly, you remember how you feel. Like, you remember the joy. Like, I remember losing that championship game in the locker room, and the tears that I saw from my teammates, but then coming back and winning state, the resiliency that we had. Like, I don't remember exactly every single game, every single statistic, but you remember just that feel that you have with your teammates, those moments with your parents. Like, I'm not going to ever forget having always made eye contact with my mom, or, my uncle who I grew up with, he actually had floor seats, as we were kids. And so I remember, I would go up to him after every game and hug him. So those are the things that just last. Statistics, so championships and record books, those last as well. But those moments, is like, you never forget those feelings.
That's why I'm enjoying this. I mean, I'm enjoying this conversation for so many reasons, but that's the part that I love hearing from you, Noelle, because, again, if you never played sports, I think there's this assumption, which one should never assume, that you remember that night where you scored 40 points, right? Or you remember that day where you won a championship. And yeah, you do remember it, but it's those small, minute details of life, whether it be looking up at your mom, hugging a family member after the game, or the smell of the locker room as you're lacing up your shoes. Those are the memories that live on forever. And that's something that I want people that who just never played sports to understand that that holds more weight than anything else that you do.
I try to talk to my kids about that too. Actually, I just expressed that yesterday to them. You know, it is a tough time being on Zoom and having to work out and not really knowing what our season is going to look like or what have you. I understand that, but we can't take for granted the fact that we have limbs and all, you know, that work. You know, we're able to breathe air. We're able to, you know, put our work in, and it's not the correct, you know, not the ideal way. But when we are together, we should work hard and we should enjoy that moment, because these are moments that we can never get back. But these are also moments that we will never, that we will always remember. And so I just try to instill that even when we are together on the court and things like that of that nature. I'm always stressing the importance of valuing each other as a teammate and valuing our time together, because every year our team looks different. Every year something different will happen, and you don't want to just be like, again, dang, I wish I would have just spent a little more time with this teammate. Man, I wish I would have just had this conversation with this person. And so that is important. It is important.
They will never forget the impact you're having on them by taking the approach that you had. It goes, again, whether or not you feel like they're grasping it, they are. It's just like with parents growing up. I don't know about you, but I didn't think my parents knew anything about life. And then sure enough, 10 years after they would tell me something, it all just clicked. And I would look at my brother and say, they were right. So it may not be an instantaneous in the moment, but trust me, and you already know, 5, 10, who knows? It will all click, and they'll say, wow, Coach Quinn knew what she was talking about.
Thanks for that reassurance. Because some days I'm like, is my mic off? Can you hear me?
Don't you love it when the mic is permanently turned off and you're talking and they're all just...
Right. Yes. Or this one. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, coach.
Oh my God. Are you the one though on the Zoom call where you're legitimately on mute and you're talking?
No.
Okay.
No, I learned very quickly. And so you know, laughing at others, I'm like, okay, let me make sure I press this unmute button first.
You did win a WNBA title with Seattle in 2018. And again, we talked about the importance of those small moments, but when you had the dream of playing in the WNBA and finally hoisting that trophy, did that kind of put a bow on things you were trying to accomplish as a player?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was one thing that I hadn't done, is win a WNBA championship. What I'm most proud about, though, is just like who I won the championship with. Legit, my friends, my homies, and I care about each and every one of them, our coaching staff and our organization. Like, I'm so happy that I won it in Seattle, just because it just mattered more, because of who I was surrounded by. And to cap off a career with a championship, I think it's like riding off on my horse, and saying like, I had an amazing time. I had amazing teammates throughout my career. Did some very good things, and to ultimately win the prize. Like, no one can ever take away the fact that I am a WNBA champion. You can, say, well, you weren't an all-star, or you didn't get MVP, and I didn't get all these individual accolades. But I did win a championship, and that's something that not a lot of people are able to do within their career. Obviously, I know we'll probably hit on it, but in 2020, winning a championship as a coach, it's like, it's different because my role was different. But again, I think the people make it more fulfilling, and who we're with. I think we have a very amazing culture, this buzzword culture that a lot of sports teams and coaches use. But I mean, the way in which, our best players are our hardest workers, and we all have to fall in line because of that. Our ownership group is a group of women who are really impactful in the community and with our with our Storm organization. Our general manager, she's amazing. And so the leadership from the top trickles down to the bottom and has cultivated this culture. And so, going back to 2018, man, like as a player, it's just, you want to do so much for your franchise because you know how much they believe in you.
How did you celebrate that first WNBA title?
Oh, we were actually on the road. And so I think the owners bought out kind of like a bar type area. I'm going to be honest, I was kind of like a party pooper in that. I was like,
Oh,
because our flight was early in the morning, like, okay. My mom was actually flew out. It's so funny. She came to our playoff games. So we played Phoenix in the semis and DC in the finals. And so my mom came to our games in Seattle. And then did she come to Phoenix? I can't remember if she came to Phoenix. But like Brianna Stewart and Jewel Lloyd for game 5, they're like, get Golden to our game. She's our good luck charm. Like, so my mom flew out and she was at game 5. And I remember, because I didn't play much that year, that 2018 year. So it was game 5. We were down like double digits early. And she had a good seat. She was sitting directly across from the bench. And I looked at her like, oh gosh, we're going to lose.
love the positivity.
Yeah, no. Okay, not that we're gonna lose, but we're in trouble. Like, and then she just gave me this calming look, like, you guys are okay. And it was not verbalized. I didn't say anything. It was just my look versus her look. Gave me so much comfort. And then the game is obviously documented, but amazing comeback. Diana Taurasi went off. Sue Bird went off. And we won game 5, obviously. But just to have my mom there. And so now Stewie and Jewel are like, nope, she has to come to DC. She's our good luck charm. So we played, we had home court advantage. And then our game 3 was there. And obviously she was able to be a part of that too, which was super cool. So fast forward to going back to partying, like yeah, we won. Like, Mom, you ready? Gotta get up early. I don't want to keep my mom. My mom, older, but she's whatever you want to do. So, partied a little bit and then got on an early flight. But to me, what was very cool was the parade, and that day was cool to just be on the route and say hi to our fans and have our rally at Key Arena. That was pretty cool as well.
Did you take the trophy, hoist it up, and give a yell? You don't strike me as a yeller per se.
And no, I'm like the touch the trophy, like, yeah, good job, ladies.
And they have to put a microphone on so we could hear you saying that.
Exactly right. Yeah, got to take a picture with it and things like that. But yeah, I'm just like the chill celebrator, I should say.
Hey, I get it. Some people like to go the Gronk Avenue. Some people like to take more of a Noelle Quinn approach, and you can't go wrong with either. But I love how your mom was the good luck charm, and your teammates are like, we need your mom to go to this game, and we need your mom to go to this game. And your mom's probably like, heck yeah, let's go.
Yeah, she was. But let me tell you, she was exhausted after the playoffs. Like, she was so tired. We got back to Seattle, and she was, because she had been traveling for a couple of weeks straight, whatever, back and forth. So after the parade and things, like, we're in Seattle, and she's just like laying down, like dead tired. Like, she had enough, you know what I mean? But she really took ownership in that good luck charm, and she loved that. So it was great to experience that with her.
The transition from player to coach, why did you decide to veer away from playing and transition into coaching? Was there a particular reason involved?
Yeah, similar to how I got started at Bishop. One of the owners, Lisa Brummel, was like, this was not even after 2018, it might have been in 2017, she was just like, whenever you're done playing, we don't know when that will be. We want you to come back and coach. Um, and we see this in you. We see how you operate with like the refs. I'm always talking to the refs on the side, or we see how you are in the huddles and with your teammates. And if that's something that interests you, and at that point I was coaching high school at the time, so they knew that that was kind of like something that coaching was in my pocket. Um, they wanted to present that opportunity to me. So um, that was actually a blessing for me because I was coaching at Bishop while I was still playing. And within that, I realized that I have a passion for teaching basketball to that time to the student athletes. And then within like my experiences, I found out, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. I'm pretty good at it. You know what I mean? Um, and as I was thinking, in this kind of limbo of, okay, like I've played 12 seasons, like I've exceeded the average career in the WNBA, just won a championship. Like, what else do I need to accomplish as a player? That gave me comfort in knowing that I had people who trusted in me, who were so confident in me and my ability, and I hadn't even stepped foot on a WNBA court as a coach. Um, and so just feeling empowered by others, again, similar to how Ms. Libben and Mr. Miller empowered me to help coach at Bishop. I think the timing was great, and it just was that time to transition. And I know a lot of players who have this transition period where they don't know what they want to do, and they take time, and they, no knock on anyone, but they go try to figure out if it's a 9 to 5 or they become an entrepreneur or whatever it is. They have this time, this transition time, and it's not always like fulfilling or successful. And so I'm like, let me take advantage of this transition into my next career to see if I even like it, first of all, but also because the opportunity presents itself. I don't want to have a 9 to 5 right now. And so just in that decision, it was just easier because it's going back to the place that I love, the organization that I love, but also I had been honing my skills at Bishop Montgomery as in learning how to coach in that arena. So that's how I came to my decision.
Was it hard to leave the playing aspect behind, even though, like you said, you had checked every single box that you possibly could as a player?
No, my first year of coaching, obviously I'm fresh off playing and things like that, and they're like, "Do you miss playing?" And I'm watching training camp and the drills that we used to do. I'm like, no, I don't miss that. My whole body does not miss that. I don't miss that physical like brutality that we're putting on our bodies. I do not miss going on a plane, riding for 12 to 14 hours to go play overseas and packing my bags, overpacking, and the smell of like the airports. I don't miss that at all, but not in a bad way. I think I'm just like content with where I am. Um, I'm still able to like, very much play with my girls at Bishop if I need to run and show them I still got it or whatever. um, if the storm needs me to, run if we don't have our scout guys, like I'm still very much able to do that, and I'm content with that. The only thing I would probably miss is the camaraderie in the locker room and the group checks with my teammates, those are probably the only things. But as far as just like um, being, being in a position, my mind, body, soul, spirit of being just like, yeah, I'm ready to move on. Like that's where I was at, and I don't regret it. And I feel like I stepped away at a time where I could have very much played another year or two. I feel that way. I really do, honestly, if it presented itself. But I don't think that was like my path at that moment. So
Was there ever a moment your first year as an assistant in Seattle where you're on the sideline and you forget that you're a coach and you end up going on the floor as a player?
no.
And your teammates are looking at you like, Noelle, you're
your door's that
yeah.
way, not that. I got the lay of the land. I think because I'm so familiar with like, this is where the coaches go, this is where the players go. The only thing that was different was just like entering into the coach's office. Like, this is so weird, like, oh, this is what the office really looks like. I don't really be up here like that. But yeah, I think it was just like I said, I was coaching my homies, like I was coaching my friends, I was coaching my teammates. So it was just it was easy. It was an easy transition. They already had that respect level, and so for me, it might have been easier for me to say something to them than maybe another coach because it's coming from a different vehicle, so to speak, from a different voice, and I can kind of relate it differently. So I think that was kind of my advantage, honestly.
I like how you use that as an advantage because my initial thought would be that would be tough to tell a friend or teammate, hey, you need to, do this, or hey, you need to do that. I think some might find that to be daunting. I would if I had to tell friends, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. I don't know if I could do it.
No, I feel you, but I think I was doing it already as a player. I was like, I just remember one time, like, Jewel can attest to this, Jewel Lloyd. I'm just like, what you on today? What's going on? Like, snap out of it. But it comes from a place of love, and it comes from a place of like, we need you. We need you at your best. And because I did that as a player, now it's just like I can do it as a coach because I've done it for so many years as a player.
And this is the part that I love. Why did you go back to your alma mater, Bishop Montgomery, and decide to give back to a school that obviously gave you so much?
So initially, I came back to Bishop. The WNBA has this internship program where you pick a field that you are interested in after basketball, and you have to have actually a 40-hour work week, which I found was like, oh, this is a lot of hours.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Hold on, hold on. So I contacted Andy and I was like, hey, like that, the WNBA has this program, I would love to come back to Bishop and work actually in the athletic directing office. And so connected me to whoever I needed to connect with. And so within that, I was actually just coming back to internship and see if I enjoyed this realm of, this field of athletic directing. And so as they got wind of the fact that I wanted to come back on campus, something was happening with the girls basketball program, and then Miss Libben and Mr. Miller were like, "Hey, can you help us with something?" And I'm big on giving back, like those that environment, that school, those people there, the people there. They just blessed me in so many ways. They encouraged me. They had this amazing environment, and so I'm like, I would do anything for you guys. And so within that, that's how I got kind of started in coaching at Bishop. I was coaching, I was like interning. So yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was that my experience, my 4 years at Bishop were so amazing that there was no doubt in my mind that I didn't want to, come back just to work there or internship there, but be a part of who they are again, because that just doesn't leave you. The community aspect of it, the intimate, like, school setting, it's a small school. The fact that we knew everyone, the teachers knew us and all those things, like, that mattered to me. Um, and so to be able to then um, show the younger generation how much pride I have for my school, um, how things, what it means to be a lady knight or a knight. I wouldn't pass up on an opportunity to do that because that's what I'm called to do. Right? I talked about servitude. I'm serving. So I learned, someone gave to me, I then give to others.
Was there a sense of nostalgia when you walked back into the gym at BMHS for the first time and you see all the banners you helped contribute? Your jersey from Bishop and UCLA is up there as well. Did you kind of, was it, I don't want to say the word weird because that's not the right term, but was it a little like, whoa, like a throwback in time?
Yes. First of all, our locker room still smell the same from like, I'm just like, how do they bottle this scent up and just like spray? It's just like the natural scent of the locker room into the gym.
I saw it at 7-Eleven. They have it's called the BMHS night scent. I saw it. It was too expensive for me to purchase, so I deferred.
Hashtag be legendary. Yes. Night excellence, all of that. um, yeah, and I find it's so interesting. Like I talk about this a lot. Like my jerseys are kind of everywhere in the gym, and I don't. Sometimes I purposely don't look up there because I don't want somebody to be like, "Hey, Coach Quinn, why are you staring at your jersey?"
See, I would call you out for that for sure.
So it's like I'm not making eye contact with my jerseys for the simple fact, like it's just like, I just don't want to be the person that's just like thinking, get big headed and things like that. But when I'm in the gym alone, a lot of times I just find myself looking up, and I think, the impact that I had on Bishop's campus, not only, on the basketball court, but in the classroom too. I was in honors and AP classes. I told you it was tough. But that impact that I had on the court, in the classroom with our community, I think it just makes it more fulfilling for me. I think that, it also gives me a chance to boost what I am trying to exude to my girls, and that I can say, hey, look up at the wall, I did it. Like if you want to question me and question, our methods and question like whatever it is, just look up and understand that you have a coach who has done a lot of things, and it has done what you're trying to do and accomplish. And so listen to me. I kind of use that as a teaching tool. But I mean, again, it's just humbling to be able to have my jerseys up there. A lot of hard work, a lot of hard, tough times, a lot of tears that came with that too, a lot of sleepless nights. But the good outweighs the bad. And I love that I will always have a piece of myself at that school at all times.
I love it. And I really do love the fact that you're coaching in the WNBA and then in the off season you come back to Los Angeles and you coach at Bishop Montgomery High School. And because again, I think many think, oh, professional athlete or coach, you're just hanging out or just relaxing or catching up. But like you said, it goes back to service. You are literally going back to your alma mater and trying to help shape the next group of great women.
I think that's what life is about, right? And I think hopefully the next crop of basketball players that I'm like that I have the honor of coaching, maybe they in turn come back and take my spot, or you know what I mean. I think it becomes a cycle, and hopefully, I think about my ability to help others, and I wouldn't have it any other way. If I am blessed to have an opportunity to coach and all year round, I will take that opportunity and I will put my all into it. Like I don't do anything halfway. So when I'm in it, I'm in it. When I'm here, you know, in the off season for WNBA and Bishop, I'm fully invested in my girls. And the same thing, you know, I have my assistant coaches are amazing. They take over the summer when I'm gone, and then when I'm with the WNBA, I'm fully invested in what I'm doing. And so I just maneuver in that way. Like I want to be helpful to anyone who I can help. And if I'm able to continue to serve in that way and continue to uplift, encourage, enlighten. I'm like that's kind of where I live in my purpose.
This goes against our conversation about living in the moment, but your future in coaching, what are your personal goals and what do you see for yourself in the future?
Yeah, I got asked this question probably a few weeks ago, and because like I didn't pursue coaching, coaching kind of fell in my lap. It's hard for me to say what I want to do and what I want to accomplish and what my goals are because it was legit something that other people saw in me. You know, so it's kind of I didn't search out. I didn't say, hey, like I want to be a coach. Like this is the lane I want to go. This is the path I want. I want this for my life. This is my goal. I don't have that right now. I'm very much, honestly, I'm living in the moment. I'm taking it day by day, trying to get better at what I do. You know, always studying the game, you know, reading books or, you know, figuring out ways that we can be successful. I think I'm constantly thinking about that, but I'm not really thinking about future and what that holds for me as a coach. I think honestly, if I do my best every day where I am, it will write itself. And I will have an opportunity and I'll have other opportunities or I have, you know, other goals or whatever that may be. But right now, my goal on a daily basis is to just coach the young women that I'm able to coach, you know, give my all into that every day, and then we'll see where that takes me.
You hit on a point that's so important, and it's similar to how I like to live my life, which is if you work hard and you do good for others, the rest will write itself. And what that looks like, though, we don't know. You know, for me, I was a TV sports anchor reporter, and I never thought that my career would transition as a video producer over at Yahoo, but it did. And sometimes when I'm feeling down or I'm feeling frustrated, I always kind of go back to the, hey, Collin, if you continue to work hard, help others, and do good, the rest will write itself in some way, shape, or form. And I think it's a beautiful way to live your life. And that's why I love what you're doing, because that's it's going to lead to great things. It's just we don't know what that looks like.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And at the same time, I understand the importance of having goals. And a lot of people talk about writing goals. But as you're alluding to, when you give your all and you're a good person and you are doing it from a good place, then those opportunities, the 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 opportunities may exceed what you write and the goals that you have. Like you may be limiting yourself by saying, I want to do this, want to do this. It's too small for you. You know what I mean? Like you may think, or people may think, you know, you want to be a high school coach. Maybe you need to dream bigger, you know. So I never want to get caught up in writing my goals because I don't want my goals to be too small. And so I'm just like, God, take me where you want to take me. But also having vision, obviously, you know, you do have to say, you know, maybe you do want to be someplace in 5 or 10 years. But for me personally, I'm just like, I don't even, I just want the opportunity to come about, give me my options, and have the timing aligned with that, and make it like curtail it or edit it toward, you know, what's beneficial for me and my family, and just go from there. But I don't even want to limit myself by setting a small goal.
Noelle, if you could go back in time, what would you tell a young Noelle Quinn?
I would probably say it's okay to come up for air a little bit, stop and smell the roses. I think I really sacrificed a lot in that, I wasn't the young lady that was out at the parties and, maybe I would go to the football games. I wasn't really hanging out after that. I was strictly like school and sports and family, obviously. But, even at lunchtime, a lot of times I was in the library doing my homework because I knew that I had practice after school. I knew that, my commute, 30-minute commute, I try to get on top of things. And so I sacrificed hanging out at lunch to do my work. And I think that's actually one characteristic of me that I like. I like my work ethic in high school. I did. And it carried over to college even. I think if I had the opportunity to maybe make more friends outside of sports, I'd say just take the time to come up for air. Sometimes I think it's important to have balance in life. I'm not saying that I didn't have balance, but I was so focused on what I needed to do that I didn't get in trouble. Like I didn't do the normal like teenage things that we probably do. Though I was you know it happens. You're high school, things like that. But I would really just say it's okay to really not have to have your mind turned on 24/7 with goals, aspirations, or basketball, school, finishing projects, whatever that may be. So just enjoy a little bit more.
I'm going to put you on the spot here for a second. What would you like to tell your mom?
I'll preface this by saying I just talked to my friend about this last night. I think something about the pandemic has made me make sure I like communicate with her more, text her more, make sure she knows I love her more, like tell her how much she's appreciated more. And when I'm in her presence, I just focus on her more. Like I literally like look at her and soak it all in because I don't want to be like texting and she's talking to me and then the next moment I'm like, dang, I wish I would have, I think, this pandemic has showed me who's important in my life and what's important in my life and who matters and what matters. And my mom matters to me. And so I can honestly say today, I am being more intentional about making sure she knows how much I love her and how much she's done for me and how much I live my life to make sure that she's proud of me and an example that she would be proud of. And so I would tell her, thank you. Thank you for being an example. Thank you for working to put me in the position that you have to sacrifice what you did to provide for me and my sister and our family. I would thank her for just her consistency in loving me. I would thank her for her consistency in showing up. I would thank her for who she is because who she is so much of who I am. And so, I mean, she knows this because I tell her all the time. She's superwoman to me. My mom now, she's 74. She looks about 50. So thank you for the genes as well. But I just feel like it is now my duty to give back to her in a way that is fulfilling to her, and not necessarily monetarily, but with just showing her love and appreciation, because I do not want to live knowing that I missed a moment with her. And I told her the other day, I said, I can't imagine my life without you. I had to text her that because I was just like, it was on my heart to tell her that. And I don't want to imagine that. And I know one day it may come, but it's just like, she has impacted my life in such a way that is like, I will never forget it. And I hope to impact someone else's life in that manner.
I love that you're having these conversations and this open dialogue with your mom and just leaving everything on the table. That way there's never that, oh, I wish I would have said this or I wish I would have said that. And that is a beautiful thing and something many of us can learn from and take moving forward.
Yeah, she's my light, like she's my rock. She's her and my sister like have, my heart for sure. And her name is Golden Quinn, so I'm just like, there's a song called by Joe Scott, "Living My Life Like It's Golden," right? And I always, sometimes when I think about my mom and that, I'm just like, yeah, I want to live my life like golden, because it is golden. You know what I mean? I don't have. I'm so blessed, like good, bad, and different. Like I've had some adversity, and I have these things, but like I said, the good outweighs the bad, and she is a big reason for that, like if not the reason for that.
I love it. Noelle Quinn, BMHS Hall of Famer, UCLA Hall of Famer, WNBA champ. You won a championship overseas. You won another WNBA championship as a coach, as an assistant coach over in Seattle. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really loved chatting with you and hearing your story.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Once a night, always a night. Once a Bruin, always a Bruin. I appreciate having this dialogue. We touched on some great things, so thank you. I appreciate you, Collin.
I hope I didn't embarrass you with that ending, because it goes back to the introduction as well, where you're like, you could have just said that I love basketball and I'm a coach now.
Yeah. It's a subtle reminder that I've done these things, but you could have just kept it simple.
For more interesting stories with former athletes, check out Hey Where'd You Go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a video version on YouTube. Plus, don't forget to check it out on social media. That's at Collin Kushner on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.